This is Curious Brain Thoughts.
Hello, Paul.
Hello, Louise.
I sounded a bit tentative about who you were. My apologies.
Yeah, I'm still
clear.
your brother. I'm still your brother.
I'm crystal clear.
Roger.
So that's great. How are you doing?
Marvellous, thank you. A little bit windy pops because I've just guzzled a bit of tea, as in a cup of tea, and for some reason I need to burp now.
A you problem that you've made into an us problem, because now we're hearing you gulp and burp.
Well, actually, I haven't burped, so you're welcome. I can do. That can be arranged.
I don't know why you mentioned it, if I'm honest.
Because
we can.
I was struggling to. When you asked me how I was struggling to speak. All right, God, because I was holding back the burpage. I could have just gone fine. Blah, 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 blah.
And in fairness, now that you've said that, we can hear you gulping, and we know what that is.
Nice cup of tea. Oh, so
lovely.
And how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Great.
I have a poorly teenager in my house who is at home from escuela.
Amazing.
With a horrible cold.
I tell you what, there's so many of these bloody bugs around. They
Ay,
just won't give up, will they?
No, poor old Felix. He's been really hammered this winter by colds.
Better that than by white lightning.
Hammered by white lightning. Yes, indeed. That every teenager's righto passage. White lightning, for those who don't know, is a cider off of the 80s and 90s.
And by cider, I mean in the loosest possible way. Like
it's not an artisan
mechanically produced. No, it's not artisan. We're not even sure if apples are involved in the making of white lightning.
Probably not. It's probably got inverted commas around the cider.
Which is nice.
You know, when they do, they can't call it Greek yogurt if it hasn't been produced in a very specified way.
Yes.
So they call it Greek style yogurt.
Yes.
In the same way.
Champagne style wine.
It's cider style cider.
Which is nice.
Yeah. Or not. I'm sure we've activated lots of traumatic responses in the audience by talking about white lightning.
People are going, oh my gosh. Yes. Yes.
Actually,
yes.
We were talking to a friend of ours a couple of weekends ago, and she mentioned that fortified wine that people used to drink. Thunderbird, or 2020 it was called. And that was classic teenage vibes.
Amazing.
Yeah, lovely.
Now, enough of our drinking past. Are you ready for Le RTG?
Bring it on, basically.
Okay, fine. Here we go.
Random theme generator. Random theme generator.
Well, this is a surprise.
Is it indeed?
It is indeed.
Tell me.
Okay, fine. Are you ready? You ready? Oh, la definition.
Well, I don't know what the word is, so...
Okay, get ready to type. Definition of coaching.
Ka-ching.
Kachinga.
Coaching. Okay, here we go. Oh. It's got a Hungarian origin.
That's what I was going to say, actually. Yeah.
So, coach is obviously the mode of transport. I'm going to get the coach up to London, travel by. And that was coach and horses before. It was National Express. Then we've got to train or instruct a team player. He moved on to coach the England team. Is another definition. to give someone extra teaching. She was coached for stardom by her mother. To give someone instructions as to what to do or say in a situation. He had improperly coached a witness to testify. And to give someone professional advice on how to attain their goals.
Interesting.
And that is the definition off of Oxford.
Is it? Well, maybe well done, Oxford. Who knows?
Maybe go to Cambridge.
Cambridge says the act of giving special classes in sports, a school subject or a work-related activity, especially to one person or a small group. The act of training and organising a sports team. It also says involved in or relating to training and organising a sports team. Involved in or related to giving special classes. We've heard that. Thank you. The job or activity of providing training for people or helping to prepare them for something. All our employees have access to expert coaching. So it's very interesting. It's a bit all over the show, isn't it?
And I tell you what, this definition or set of definitions, with the exception of coach, as in
the mode of transport,
take the coach to London, with the exception of that one, it makes perfect sense to me why people don't know what coaching is in the way that we mean it.
Yeah,
because I'm just listening for some words that explain how we, and I know many other coaches, work.
Yeah.
And it's not there.
It's not those. No.
No, it's really not those. Train, instruct. No.
Yeah. Advise.
Tell people what to do. No.
Yeah. No. It's interesting, isn't it? Because so then, a business coach is going to tell you some things to do based on your context. You might find that there's a lot of things pop up at the moment, like I'm a social media coach. Basically, I have a course that's going to tell you what to do. Right.
And therefore, are they more of a mentor than a coach?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. Yes, so, we could go down that road, because to me, mentoring means you have trodden the path and you have experience of that path, and you are also able to do something to affect the outcome for someone else. So for your mentee, you're able to do something to support them, to further them in whatever their endeavour is, based on your set of experience, your advice, etc. So that might be using your network and going, I can get you access to someone who will tell you how to do blah, blah, blah.
Gotcha.
That would be a mentor. For me, the coaching is very different. One of the first thing that I found interesting about that definition is the sort of coaching we do doesn't require us to be an expert in anything other than coaching.
Which is good.
Which is listening and asking great quality questions that will help someone move forwards, being able to hold a space for them in a way that might be tricky or difficult or whatever, and is not to give advice. So
no.
And so I find that curious that there isn't that definition between Oxford and Cambridge.
I agree too. And somebody was telling me the other day this anecdote about the swimmer Michael Phelps. And he was working with his coach, and they came to the end of a training session, and he said to his coach, what's your background in swimming? He just wanted... I probably would have had that conversation before I hired them as my coach. But anyway, that's not how the little story goes. And the guy said, well, I don't have a background in swimming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to have a background in swimming. I understand how to support you in getting the best performance. I don't need to be an expert in swimming to do that. That's pure coaching. I think that's much rarer in sport, certainly.
Yes.
And in lots of other areas, business coach, social media coach, this coach, that coach, they tend to have some subject matter or have walked the path before.
Mm-hmm.
And effectively, they're looking over their shoulder and going, here are the things that I did that were really helpful, supportive, got me where I wanted to go. If that's where you want to go, I can help you.
Which is really valuable.
Yeah, 100%.
Really valuable. You know, not knowing where to start and feeling overwhelmed by things and wanting some handrails to follow a process can be really, really helpful in trying something new. You know, like, for example, learning a musical instrument.
Yeah.
You know, if people just asked you questions about how to play a musical instrument, that would probably get really irritating.
Yeah, really quickly.
Really quickly. What you want is
what do
someone
you
to
think a chord of G looks like? Well,
Yes. How would you express G major on the guitar? What?
I don't know.
Yeah. I've got no frame of reference.
But if you did know, what would that look like? Well, I still don't know.
Yeah. A Swede? I don't know. So
Is it then a skill or a capability that you can, you know, that exists outside of you almost? So I can play the guitar, I can swim the 100 meters, I can do these marketing tasks or whatever. You know, there's a specific output that you're looking for. Maybe that's where some of that more instruction-based do this, do that is super helpful.
100%.
Because you don't know where to start. If you did, you probably would have already begun.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Where you've got no frame of reference for the thing that you're trying to do. And that's that has a predefined path or pattern or approach or whatever. And so I think there's, for example, let's just stick with the guitar then. So knowing how to play G on the guitar is important.
Yes.
And then are you going to strum it? Are you going to pluck it? Are you going to add a harmonic to it? Are you, you know, how else do you want to play the chord G? I think that's when you're trying to express something maybe internally, and you want that to come out in some way. You know, so thrashing the chord G is going to make a load of G noise. Whereas if you
Air on a G string.
Is that air on a G string?
I think that's piso classical music, Paul.
Oh, right. Sorry.
It's not doing a fart with a certain configuration of pants on.
Which I still think would be quite amusing. Air on a G string. Yeah, versus plucking, you know, you pleasant plucker. You can evoke something very different there.
Yes.
And I think if with the work that we do with individuals and with organisations and so on, our starting point is that people instinctively will know what it is they need to do. The thing that they're struggling with is how to go about doing it. You know, and they will know what they need to do, which might be, I need to learn how to do something. I need to, you know, develop a skill in something.
Yes.
And it could be lots of other things that are... I think the other thing, sorry, that's just popped into my head is maybe there is, I don't know if this is a commonality between like the instructional coaching versus the non-directive coaching, which is what we do, that it's about trying to remove obstacles, because very much with the non-directive, you're not going to tell someone what their obstacles are.
No.
You're going to help them navigate through a journey which is non-linear.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't, what works for one person almost certainly won't work for the next person in the same order with the same things and so on. Whereas if the obstacle is playing the guitar, well, the first thing you need to do is know what the strings are and where to put your fingers, and then how to use your hands in order to create the different sounds and so on. So there is a predefined path, if you like, for figuring that stuff out, which makes it repeatable. So whereas with our stuff, if it was learning to play the guitar, the things that might be getting in the way could be, like one of our other episodes, limiting beliefs.
Yes.
Well, I could never do that. It's too late. It's too complicated. Oh, no. I haven't got time. I'll never get there. All these different things that could be getting in the way, preventing someone from doing it. And then once those things are slowly dismantled, there's plenty of like YouTube videos and stuff where they could probably figure this stuff out for themselves,
100%.
like many people.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So I think that's quite maybe a simple example of the difference in our approaches to coaching.
Yeah, and I think that both styles, the instructional style of coaching and which we might call mentoring as well, and the non-directive style, they're both supportive, and the intent is growth in some way. I mean, you do get I'm just thinking of some of the there's some real harshness in some of that instructional coaching. Just do this, just keep going.
Yes.
Which you don't have in the non-directive style of coaching. And I think the fundamental difference is that difference you called out, Paul, which is that we have a core belief that everybody, including us, has everything we need and more within us already now to get wherever we want to go. That isn't to say I can pick up a guitar and play it like I'm part of the Gypsy Kings, but it does mean that, although frankly I'm probably not going to be very far away.
I mean, to be fair, I've heard you play the guitar. You're basically, they'll call you the Gypsy Queen.
They're on a G-string, you're welcome. So, it's Johann Sebastian Bach, by the way, I looked it up.
Okay, great.
So
you wore G-strings.
Anyway,
that's very weird.
Yeah, it's very progressive of him. So the point is that you have, I have, we all have the inner resilience, the inner drive, the will to get us where we want to go. If we're not there, then there are things blocking us. We are getting in our own way somehow. And that's where we come in to help people navigate that non-linear journey of growth, as you say. So, so our way of working doesn't impose our view of things onto other people. It is not about us at all. We hold the space. We listen and ask the questions. I was explaining it to somebody yesterday. I said, basically, I listen and ask questions.
Pardon?
That's it.
Sorry, you just made a statement there?
Yeah, I did make a statement, but that was an explaining. Right.
Oh, I see. So you're getting instructional. Right, fine.
Yeah, well, whatever. Don't weaponise it, Paul. It's not
right,
big and
Louise.
it's not clever.
All right, calm down. How would it be if you calmed down a bit? And it is a good point though, because that is again a very simple ingredient, and I just keep thinking back to our first episode ever, which was Simple Not Basic. 2 really simple ingredients: listening and asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, it is remarkable what can happen if you ask the right question, when you ask the right question for that person. Doesn't mean it's right for you, it's right for the person. Mm-hmm. And when you ask the wrong question, because, it's interesting. And sometimes I get this where I'll ask a question and the person they're not entirely sure. And so I will ask it again, just in a different way. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I share with people is that this isn't about you not understanding the question, it's the quality of my question. Yes. So therefore, thanks for the feedback. Here's me trying to have another go at it.
Yes. And to be still and quiet enough in yourself to be able to create this neutral space where you and this other person can enter and have this conversation, to not insert yourself in it, your own thoughts or ego or anything else or opinion. That's a skill like any other that takes practice.
Yeah.
For me, when I first started coaching, I had to metaphorically and sometimes literally sit on my hands because I wanted to help people by basically telling them what I thought they should do. Mm-hmm. And I realised, and this is, good 15, 20 years ago when I first started doing this, but I realised then, oh my God, this is what I've been doing. Mm. And how arrogant of me to assume that I could even possibly begin to know. And it's very disempowering for the other person because then, well, what are we saying? I don't think you can sort this out for yourself. Mm. That's not what we're saying at all. So It really was a great journey for me of discovery for myself as I trained to become a coach.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's important as well to notice the difference between coaching and therapy. And I mean, we've talked about this a lot, you and I, and where we landed was that with therapy, that's very much now and looking backwards. Mm. And that coaching is now and looking forwards because it's about trying to get you where you want to be.
Yeah.
And removing the obstacles that are in the way. And that the two can happen together. There's this nice symbiosis that can be present. And if the work has already been done for whatever that phase is in someone's life, then they're already equipped with the things from having done that therapeutic work that will really help them move forwards. And you can tell when someone has really processed and healed and learned and developed from things in their past by how they respond to invitations to do things differently and to think about things differently and so on.
Yeah, definitely. And I also, one of the incredible beauties of this work is that not during the sessions, but afterwards, I reflect then on my experience. And, obviously there's supervision and other spaces that enable you to do that. And it really does hold up a mirror to me into my own life. Please do not get the impression that Paul and I are perfect specimens of humanity who don't have any of these struggles and say-do gaps. Maybe I should just speak for myself.
Yeah, do you mind? Because I'm
Peter Perfect over there.
Yeah, yes, hello, and I'm kind of like a turd rolled in glitter. It's all sparkly,
but it's still a lump of shit.
It's still a turd. And the point being is, at no point do I think I will ever be finished, in inverted commas. I'll never
No,
get
agreed.
there,
No.
ever,
Wherever there is.
wherever there is. And I do love that, just like I will never understand everything there is to understand about us as people. You know, I could just lock myself away and study for eternity with AI and and I would still not understand everything there is to know.
No.
And so therefore, that means that every one of these interactions is an opportunity for me to grow. And like you said, you know, after the event, go, wow, yeah, I can see these 3 things in me or whatever. And I find it fuels my self-awareness, gives me some things to work on, and some more vibrant things can show up, and then I can take that into therapy and go, hey, this is interesting. Where has this come from? Let's get curious. So I love it. And I think this is, you know, I've never felt like, in all the work we do, in all the different settings we do stuff, basically closing say-do gaps, I've never felt more like I am doing the thing I was meant to do.
Yes. I had an experience not that long ago, and I was connecting with this wonderful woman I used to work with, and I worked with her a long, long time ago. Long time ago.
There's a song about that. Moving on.
Yes, swiftly. And I was explaining to her about, you know, my private coaching practice, the work we do together in Connect How. And she just said to me, and I worked with her before I identified as a coach. And she said to me, well, and she worked for me on a project, or with me on a project that we were doing for a client back in the day when I worked for the man. And she said to me, well, of course you were always a coach. And I thought, isn't that fascinating? She could see it before I could.
And it's really interesting you say that. I had a conversation, it might have been this week or last week, again with someone I used to work with who knew me before all of this stuff. And, you know, I said, I've been doing it for like 10, 15 years or whatever. And their response was, well, you've been doing it a lot longer than that. I was like, well, that's interesting. So, yeah. And it's, which is part of the thing, right? Because if someone had come and said to me, oh, you should do this, you should be a coach and a facilitator, you should close say-do gaps for people, I'd be like, I'm sorry, what now? What are you on about? Actually, I'm busy doing this other stuff, which is really busy and important.
Yes, because I, at the time, felt it was very important to have subject matter expertise and do a deep dive into this and that and the other. And as I have grown in myself and my career has shifted and changed and moved, the theme is basically I've focused in more and more strategic ways on growth, basically. And now it's the growth of me, us, towards an intent, whatever that intent may be. Because it's true that, you know, in the work that we do with organisations, there's a hefty amount of coaching involved in that. And that is also a lovely mirror and a beautiful opportunity of growth for us. But it's, you know, it's all about growth in whatever form.
Just a quick one, because I realise we've been nuttering on for a while. How helpful as well is the term coaching? Given we've just looked at the definitions and we don't associate with any of those. So how helpful is it even calling ourselves coaches and facilitate whatever? How helpful is that? And I'm really curious about that because, you know, in recent times we've been referring to ourselves as the people who close say-do gaps.
Yes.
Which I think is much clearer than saying, "Oh, I'm a coach." Well, what sort of coach? I'm a football coach. Not really. I'm a life coach, a career coach, a leadership coach.
Yes.
There's so many connotations with all of those
That's
different
right.
things. And I feel like, and it's an unregulated industry.
Yes.
And it's not, I don't just use, like, there are so many different coaching models that people might, lean towards. Great. Well, I sort of just collect those, as well as some therapeutic modalities, as well as lots of things around psychology and NLP. I collect these things, and they just go into the melting pot, because I
Yes.
don't know what's going to be good for you.
No.
Someone might want the grow model. Okay, great. And it's a bit dated.
No shade on the grow model.
No
Fair
shade.
Play. Fair play.
We all have a goal, right? Okay.
Right.
Okay. And actually, I had a conversation just this week with someone who was saying that's where they started.
Lovely.
In their experience, they started there. And then they were like, there must be more, because this isn't having the effect, so there must be more. And they got curious, and then they've, like we have, discovered all this deeper, richer stuff that can really evoke immense transformations in people's lives. So, question, to what extent is coaching a useful term? Or describing oneself as a coach?
Well, given that we've stopped doing it, not completely, but I think here's what I've observed. People describe me, no matter how I describe myself, they describe me in all sorts of different ways.
So let's only use the nice ones that are...
Yes. And that are related to me being a coach. Yeah.
Related to you closing say-do gaps.
So, and that tells you what their frame of reference is.
Yeah.
For the term coaching. We've stepped away from that, as you've said, and articulate that we close say-do gaps. And I think that is the outcome, the transformation that we facilitate in whatever form and however that manifests itself.
That's the thing.
Which leaves you free then to do whatever you need to do to make that happen.
Which is what I love. I absolutely love that vibe, because the non-directive coaching we've been describing is such a powerful tool.
Yeah.
And it is a major part of the bow. It's not the only thing, though. And with all that level of confusion around, well, as a coach, you're going to tell me what to do. I remember speaking to somebody who was looking for some support in their career and so on. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions was, so what are the 10 steps we're going to do? I'm like, okay, this isn't, you're not going into a funnel, a system where you're going to start with step number 1 and go through to step number 10. That's just not how it works.
We do have a framework that is reassuring.
Yes.
Fine. But the reality is that framework is about how you transform, not about what you should do.
Yes.
And those are the crucial differences. And I think for people who look for that kind of specificity, that just reveals something, around them needing to rely on themselves internally, have some internal confidence in their own resources, which maybe, so it's all information. I do really sincerely believe, and it is my experience, and I think it's yours as well, Paul, people show you who they are. Yeah. They tell you who they are. Mm-hmm. You just have to pay attention.
100%. And listening isn't just with your ears.
Pardon?
It's it's the body language, the energy, even being able to pick up the energy on calls You know, remote calls. It's super possible
Yeah.
to be able to feel the energy of the other person despite not being in the same room as them. So there's so many different ways to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Things like somebody's breathing. You know, exactly. You know, you often see people do like a sigh when something's completed for them internally and they're ready to move forward. So they're not saying anything, but you're listening nonetheless. And so, I agree. Listening happens on all of the levels. Yeah.
Amazing. All of the levels. So we better go and close some say-do gaps for ourselves.
Yeah, we better have.
Do you know what I mean?
Start with ourselves.
Yeah, and work outwards.
Yeah.
And if people would like to get in touch with us, because you never know, people do, and every now and again the RTG spits out a doodah from someone.
Yeah, fair play.
What should they do, Louise?
Well, first and foremost, if you have the intention, if you say you want to get in touch, then
do it.
Don't open up another say-do gap for yourself. And the best thing to do is to email us curiousbrainfarts@gmail.com.
Amazinga. And I love the idea that actually if someone has sat there and gone, oh, I wouldn't mind suggesting something, and they haven't done so yet, here is another invitation. You know, it's interesting. You said you were, oh, I'd like to do that. You've not done it. So you'd be very welcome.
There's a warm invitation to get in touch. You don't have to be groundbreaking, erudite. Just put your brain farts on. An email.
Precisely. If you've not listened to some of the other episodes, then maybe take a look if you want to feel confident in sending. So the random ones like dogs, animals, cheese, vegetables, cruise ships. Hair was also quite a random one.
Hair was a good one. Hair today, gone tomorrow.
Boom. Thanks very much. I'm here all week. Thankfully, we're not. We're only here for a few more seconds.
So, with that, it is very much time to shuffle off
and to say bon.
To say what?
Bon happy Bon Thursday. That's French. Bon Thursday.
Oh dear. Good Lord above. So,
listen, being a cunning linguist is just something across that some of us have to bear. Okay.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair comment. And so, Paul, I wish you adios, goodbye,
bon voyage,
hasta luego.
Ciao for now.
Bye.
Curious Brain Thoughts.